You have 48 hours to surrender your world.
Then you have 48 hours to regret pointing a gun at my people.
The Vorrkai did not negotiate. They arrived in orbit above New Carthage like a bruise spreading across the sky. 7 warships, each one the size of a mountain, blocking out the twin suns until the colony below fell into artificial night. The colonists had 48 hours to surrender their mineral rights, their terraforming equipment, and every gram of iridium buried beneath their red soil. The Vorrkai called it a courtesy warning. They had given the same warning to 11 other colonies. None of them had a second sunrise. Commander Elena Vasquez stood at the edge of the ridge overlooking the main settlement, her boots sinking slightly into the rust-colored earth she had spent 9 years turning into something worth living on. Behind her, the habitat domes glowed amber against the dark. Children were inside those domes. Families. A school she had helped build with her own hands, brick by brick, in the colony's second year when the automated printers had broken down and nobody was coming to fix them. Nobody was ever coming to fix anything out here. That was the first thing you learned in the outer colonies. The second thing you learned was how to fix it yourself. Elena pressed 2 fingers to her earpiece. "Kale, you reading me?" A soft chime, then a voice, calm, warm, and distinctly not human. "Always, Commander. I have been reading you since your heart rate elevated 14 minutes ago." Kale, her AI companion, her co-pilot through 3 evacuation runs, 2 asteroid storms, and 1 very bad Tuesday involving a plasma conduit in her left eyebrow. She almost smiled. "Then you already know what I'm thinking." "Yes," Kale said quietly. "And I believe you are correct." The ships above pulsed with violet light, scanning the surface. Down in the settlement, she could hear the distant sound of a child crying. Elena Vasquez looked up at the bruise in the sky and began to plan. Fleet-Lord Drevaan descended in a personal shuttle, gilded, 6-legged, loud with the sound of ceremonial drums. He wore his conquest armor. He always wore his conquest armor for colonies like this. Small places, frightened people, the ones who folded before he even finished speaking. He found Elena waiting for him at the edge of the landing field. Alone, Drevaan stepped from his shuttle, flanked by 12 Vorrkai soldiers in obsidian combat shells, each one standing nearly 3 meters tall. He looked at the human woman, small, brown-skinned, gray at her temples, wearing a worn field jacket, and felt the particular satisfaction of a being who has never once been surprised by anything smaller than himself. "You are the leader of this colony?" he asked, his translator rendering the words in flat, mechanical standard. "I am," Elena said. "Then you understand what happens to colonies that refuse." "I understand perfectly." Drevaan tilted his massive head. Something about her stillness irritated him. Prey was supposed to tremble. "You have 46 hours remaining. Surrender your resources. Evacuate your people. We will allow you to leave with your lives." "This is generosity." Elena looked at him with the expression of someone doing very patient math. "You hurt one of my people 2 weeks ago," she said, "during your first scouting pass. A supply runner named Tomás, 23 years old. He was carrying medicine to the Eastern Dome. Your scout ship strafed him." Drevaan waved one long hand. "Collateral acknowledgement. It is in the standard." "He's alive," Elena said. "Barely." A pause. "You put a gun to a member of my crew," she continued, and her voice did not shake, did not rise, did not give him anything to hold on to. "Not a soldier. A kid with medicine and a beat-up cargo shuttle." Drevaan stepped closer. His soldiers raised their weapons. The violet tips of 7 plasma rifles hummed to life, aimed directly at Elena's chest. "Your sentiment is noted," Drevaan said, "and irrelevant." Elena looked at the rifles. Then she looked at him. "Kale," she said softly. "Now." The ground spoke first. Not an explosion, something worse. A frequency, deep and tectonic, a sound that lived below sound, vibrating up through the soles of Drevaan's boots and into his bones. His soldiers looked down instinctively, which was exactly the wrong direction. Kale had spent 9 years learning this planet. Every mineral vein, every buried aquifer, every seismic fault line running beneath New Carthage like cracks in old pottery. Elena had given him access to the terraforming survey data on their very first day. He had spent 9 years not just reading it, memorizing it, modeling it, running simulations in the background of every conversation they'd ever had. He had also spent 9 years managing the colony's geothermal network. 47 pressure valves. Simultaneously, the first column of superheated steam erupted 20 meters to Drevaan's left, punching through the landing field like a god's fist, hurling one of the gilded shuttle's landing struts into the sky. The second erupted beneath the nearest combat-shelled soldier, not killing him. Elena had been very specific about that, but launching him 10 meters sideways and leaving him tangled, disoriented, and very temporarily out of the conversation. The third, fourth, and fifth columns rose in a perfect arc around Drevaan's position, a cage of fire and vapor. And then every drone Elena had spent the last 9 months quietly assembling from salvage, spare parts, and the kind of ingenuity that only comes from being completely alone and completely responsible. Every single one rose from the rock formation surrounding the landing field and locked targeting sensors onto the 7 warships in orbit. Drevaan's communications officer screamed into the fleet channel. The warships powered weapons. Kale's voice came through the colony-wide speakers, calm as still water. Fleet-Lord Drevaan, you are currently standing above 11 points of geothermal instability. The drones you're observing are carrying focused EMP payloads tuned to Vorrkai shield harmonics. You have tactical superiority in space. We have tactical superiority in the next 30 seconds. I suggest we discuss terms. Drevaan stood inside his cage of steam and slowly, for the first time in his long career of conquest, felt something he did not have a word for. Then he found one. Outmaneuvered, Elena walked through the vapor toward him, unhurried. You made a mistake, she said. You looked at this colony and saw resources. You looked at me and saw something small. She stopped directly in front of him. You never once asked who I brought with me. The Vorrkai fleet left before the colony's second sunrise. They took their wounded soldiers, their gilded shuttle, and whatever remained of Fleet-Lord Drevaan's dignity. No shot was fired. No life was taken. Elena had been precise about that, too. This was not a massacre. It was a message. Messages traveled farther. Tomás recovered. Fully, eventually, with the stubbornness particular to people who grow up hauling cargo across the outer dark. The day he walked out of the medical dome on his own 2 feet, Elena was waiting with terrible coffee and a new assignment. He accepted both. That night, she sat on the ridge again. The same ridge, the same rust-colored earth, and looked up at a sky that was finally, completely, theirs again. Kale's presence hummed quietly in her earpiece. You know they'll tell others, he said. I know. More will come. Eventually. I know that too. She leaned back and watched the stars. Let them come. A long silence. For the record, Kale said softly, I calculated a 91% success probability from the moment you said you were planning. Elena smiled. What was the other 9%? The possibility that I was wrong about you. And I was not. She looked up at the infinite dark, at all the civilizations out there who had never once been surprised by something smaller than themselves, and felt the particular peace of a human being who has already survived everything that was supposed to stop her. You can map every star in this galaxy. You can build ships the size of mountains and armor the size of gods. But if you put a gun to a human's friend, if you make it personal, you have already lost. Because we will burn the entire board down before we let you win. We are not the strongest species in this galaxy. We are just the one that doesn't know when to quit.